All right, guys. So it's been a little while since we've checked out a pair of IEMs. And honestly, I've said this before, this is my favorite way to listen to music. If I'm going to be sitting at my desktop, I always like to have a pair of IEMs just plugged into an amp right here at my desk. It just is always going to give you a better sound than obviously using a pair of true wireless earbuds. So the pair we're going to check out today is the SIMGOT or SIMGOT. I don't know how to say the company's name. The SuperMix 5. And the 5 in the title is what's representing how many drivers these have, which we'll talk about in just a second. The price of these come in at $219, which as a pair of IEMs, that's actually pretty affordable. If you're somebody that's in the higher end IEM or, headphone market, you'll know how expensive this hobby can get. And I've seen some IEMs go up to like 9 to 10 grand. So $220 is actually not bad, especially considering the driver configuration that they're using. It has one 8mm diamond-like carbon dynamic driver mixed with two balanced armature drivers. It has one microplanar driver and one 10mm bone conduction driver. Now, the bone conduction driver is what is allowing the bass to be very fast on these. If you're familiar with bone conduction, it is actually relaying sound simply by vibrations into your bone structure. And again, having this in the mix with all of these other drivers makes for a very interesting sound that the SuperMix 5 has. Now, the IEMs themselves are using a 3D printed resin body. It's very smooth. It's very comfortable. Now, on the outside, it has a metal faceplate with what looks like a SuperMix logo. I just see an S and an M here. I do think the design is kind of just subtle looking. There's not really anything flashy about it. And if you look at the packaging, it's purple, it's flashy. You can see like the insides of the IEM. I was kind of expecting these to be, a little bit more bold from a design standpoint, a little bit more colorful. Now, the cable they've included is a silver plated Litz cable. It is using a 2-pin connection, which is the most common when it comes to IEMs. And then the connector itself is a 3.5mm plug-in, but it also comes with a 4.4mm balance plug-in as well. So you do have those two different types of plug-in, and it's very easy to switch from one to the other. And then as far as anything else in the box, it does come with a pretty nice pleather case, which is using a magnet instead of having to use the zipper. It also comes with 6 sets of silicone ear tips, so you're getting 2 different styles of ear tips, which I do recommend, make sure that you're using both of these to kind of see which one is catered a little bit more to your listening preference. I do always find, same thing with earbuds and with IEMs, that the ear tips make a huge difference. And I think a lot of people kind of overlook this. So I like when companies are giving you some different style options out of the box as well. Now, these do have an impedance level of only 19 ohms with a sensitivity of up to 120 decibels. So this one is really easy to drive, not necessarily need an amp to get good volume out of. So you could just plug it straight into a phone or a tablet and not have to worry about having an amp. But to really take advantage of them, I still recommend using a portable DAC or an amp, especially one like sitting at a desktop, just to really get the full potential out of these. But with that, let's just go ahead and jump right into the sound of these. These are surprisingly dynamic. It does have a really nice punch to it, but I am going to say this, it is very fast. And I don't know if this is because of the bone conduction, but this is not trying to be an overly bloated or loose bass. So if you're kind of looking for that subwoofer type feel, if you're somebody that's just a self-proclaimed bass head, you might find that these are lacking a little bit, but that's because they're made to be more accurate. Again, it's very fast. I still feel like it hits pretty well. It just is not hanging around at all. And then when it comes to the mids on these sound fantastic. I never had any issue hearing a lot of detail in both male and female vocalists. You can hear a lot of nice little subtle details and things. And I am going to say that this is an excellent pair for gaming. So being able to hear dialogue and again, footsteps, this pair does a really good job at. And the same thing with the treble. The treble on these are nice and bright, but it never gets to that point where it's too bright or it's too harsh. It definitely has a lot of details in the treble. There's no sibilant sound with the S's. It doesn't like overly peak. So this isn't one of those pairs that's like overly fatiguing. I mean, you can sit there and listen to music all day. You can just game on these all day and not just be overwhelmed because it's trying to do too much. It really does have a nice natural feel to it. It is not overly warm. Again, the treble is quite bright and the mids being pushed slightly forward and having a lot of the details that it does. It is still surprisingly how well they just smooth out. And then when it comes to the sound stage and the sound imaging, this is another area that this pair really does excel in. It definitely makes you feel like you're in a really large open area, and it does a very good job of being able to tell where different sounds are coming from. Again, that's why I feel like this is an excellent pair for gaming. So to wrap it up, and my overall opinion on this, I know this is kind of a quick video, is this is an excellent pair of IEMs. Again, if you're looking for a more higher end IEM and you just don't have like thousands of dollars, to throw at the more expensive pairs, I kind of feel like this one is trying to deliver what the higher end IEMs are offering in a more budget friendly price tag at $219. Obviously, it's not a budget of like $50 or under $100, but for what they're cramming into these and for how great they sound, I think it more than justifies the price on here. But I have no hesitation with recommending the SuperMix 5s for anybody looking for a great pair of IEMs. But guys, that wraps up my video on these. If you are interested in checking them out, I will have links in the description. But thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.